Hey everybody, how you doing? We're back with episode 2 of Pop Go the Writers. We are normally we like to be a quorum, but tonight there is 3 of us. Dan Taylor is feeling under the weather tonight, as is his young daughter Katie. So we send our best wishes out to them. But back tonight is Rosalinda Diaz. And we are joined by the owner of Atomic Basement Comics and writer of amazing titles like Mac Afro and, of course, Guns A-Blazin', Mike Wellman.
Hola! How's it going?
Good, good. Hey, Mike, why don't you, let's go ahead and kick it off with you telling us a little bit about yourself and about your store.
Well, I am the owner of Atomic Basement Comics. I had the genius idea of opening a store in Long Beach, January 2020, and we had the most amazing 10 weeks of comic book retail ever. But I also write comic books, and I think that's why I'm on the show, because you're looking for a writer's perspective. I'm a self-published writer. I wrote Guns A-Blazin', Gone South. I've also written Star Trek, World of Warcraft, Battlestar Galactica. It's over the course of like 20 years, so it's not really as impressive as it sounds when I say it in one sentence. But yeah, my main thing right now is just keeping the store above water, and I'm happy to say it is January 31st, right, today?
Yes.
And we just made enough to cover all the bills today for the month of January and pay the rent, and let's do February. So yeah.
Hey, and that's a good time to remind people that comics are still out there. The comic shops, they're still open, and they need people. They need customers to come in to make purchases, to pick up their books, and they'll work with you for curbside pickup, stuff like that. Reach out to your comic stores. If you don't know where your local comic shop is, there is the comic book locator service. I should know the website off my top of my head, but just Google comic shop locator, and that'll take you to a website where you can just put in your zip code, and they will point out the nearest shop or multiple shops near you. So reach out and let's keep these shops in business. I mean, if Reddit can save GameStop and AMC, I'm pretty sure we can save comic book shops or keep comic book shops going.
I'm totally going public, by the way, with this shop after what happened this week.
Okay, Rosalinda, how are you doing? Anything new on your side?
I'm doing well. It's nice to see you again and be here and be on time and have all the techie things working. So
excellent.
I'm doing well. I keep saying this. I keep saying like I've almost finished my next novel, but I really this time I mean it. I'm almost finished.
Very nice.
I feel like I'm a couple days away from getting that first draft completed.
What do you write, Rosalinda? I'm not familiar with your career yet, so.
Yeah, so I write women's fiction, and all throughout the women's fiction genre, from chick lit to contemporary romance to sweet romance. And this one, though, is a young adult novel. So it's
cool, awesome.
It's out of my normal wheelhouse. But it is so fun to write. And I think the reason that it's been hard for me to wrap it up is because I love this world so very much that I'm just like, no, let's do some more things. Like, let's put something else in there. Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
That's ironic. I didn't realize you were doing a YA book, because I'm actually working on one myself right now, which is outside of my thing too. So
nice.
I'm not nearly completed with it. I've started a while back and then got derailed, but I'm getting back to it, and that's kind of my focus right now, is this trilogy of books I want to do for YA. So
yeah, I'm hoping
you do everything, dude. You wrote an episode of Metal Hurlant. You've written comic books. You do these things that are audio things. You do novels.
To me, it's all storytelling.
I'm a big fan of your Penthouse letters columns.
Sadly, I actually did have one printed once. They pay you $50 a letter, by the way.
Really? I'm just kidding.
I know you are, and I'm not. Technically, my first paid gig.
Wow. Okay.
Mhm.
So you do
And
everything.
that's for another episode.
That's right. That's for another episode. That would be our late night Pop Go the Writers.
Awesome.
All right. Before we jump into WandaVision, I actually saw a news article that made me think of you, Rosalinda. Being the fan of Once Upon a Time that you are.
Oh, I saw that.
Okay, so I wanted to get your thoughts on the fact that the creators of Once Upon a Time, and I'm not as familiar with their names, but I did bring up the
Adam
article.
Horowitz and
Edward Kitsis, yeah, have signed to do not a podcast, but a pilot. They're doing a pilot called Epic, which will be an anthology series about fairy tales and the fairy tale characters. And it sounds like they're going to be very similar to Once Upon a Time. I wanted to get your thoughts on that.
Sounds almost identical to Once Upon a Time.
Yes, it does.
I have a lot of complicated emotions about this.
Yeah, I believe our friend Irene is already chiming in with her thoughts on.
Yes.
Oh, we have people watching.
Yes, we do.
Can you please check if she's on and commenting, because
she is.
Some backup. Okay,
yeah.
so
her first response was, "Oh no."
That's what we call
not
them.
Not a fan, apparently.
We're not a fan. Okay, let me just say this. I was 1,000% invested in this show, and the characters that I loved, and the relationship of that show that I loved, they betrayed us all. And so I don't have a lot of faith. I don't have a lot of faith in them being able to take fairy tales and bring them through a positive arc so that there is a satisfying ending for everyone.
Yeah.
I feel like they did it for their two little star characters, and everyone else could just go to hell. So, yes, yeah. Yeah, it's yeah.
You know, Irene, we could just send you a link and have you join us.
That makes you know what? I was just thinking, I was like, we managed to talk about Once Upon a Time quite a little bit, and so maybe this is going to turn into the Once Upon a Time show, or we could have one. We could get a whole bunch of fun people to talk about it.
I'd have to brush up a little bit. I've only watched a few episodes, so
yeah. I just, you know what, and for me, it was telling when I heard that the pilot that Adam and Eddie had created was going to kill Prince Charming in that very first episode.
Yeah.
When they pitched that, and the executives were like, no, you can't. No, that's the point. You can't do that. So, for me, I don't think they knew WTF they were doing, and ended up just tapping into something really magical and then screwing it up.
Yeah. The top, Irene,
was that the show that kind of ripped off Fables?
Yeah.
Yes. That's absolutely the show that ripped off Fables.
100%. Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right, good to know.
Okay. The other bit of news that I saw, which I thought was interesting, I was going to bring up tonight before getting into WandaVision, kind of ties into WandaVision. And that is that a lot of these pilot series that are being ordered, we're hearing about them now. And ABC also ordered one that is a reboot of the Wonder Years. But it's going to be set with a black family in Alabama in the 60s.
Huh.
But my thought is, and this is where I can get you guys to chime in, with the way this WandaVision series has been started, with the focus on, at least in the first 3 episodes, on sitcoms, and how it does look like we're going to go into the Full House style and then the Wonder Years style and stuff like that. Will this help bring back maybe a renaissance or a renewed interest in sitcoms? Because sitcoms seems to have been dying out over the last decade. There haven't been, it's not like back when Mike and I were younger, when there was must-see TV and you had to tune in Thursday night to watch The Cosby Show and Cheers and Friends. And it's never been quite that peak. Big Bang Theory is huge, but, that's gone now too. And
But you know what was great about that time was that there was a lineup of super huge hits.
Yeah.
It wasn't a one-off that you're like, oh, I'll catch that. And if I don't, I'll DVR it and I'll watch it eventually. Or now I'll catch it on Netflix or whatever. At that time, it was, it was Thursdays or it was Fridays.
Mhm.
And there was back to back for, what, 2 hours or so?
Yeah.
We had 4 great shows and they were all hits.
Yeah, but how much of it
Wonder
were
Years
they
was
all
my
hits
jam.
because of the two of them were super strong, and then the other ones could, you weren't going to flip away for a half hour
because they put in between it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, and the other networks were putting hour-long dramas on against them because they knew the sitcoms wouldn't. So you're not going to switch off from the Cosby Show to suddenly go watch a half hour of MacGyver.
Right.
The back,
It's true.
So it was kind of protecting those things too. So and then you'd see them move. Oh, this one must be good. We'll move it to Monday. Oh, it died. Oh, sorry.
Yes.
Little side note: today is
show
the
move.
33rd, I believe, anniversary of the premiere of the Wonder Years.
Oh, wow!
It premiered after Super Bowl.
33rd. Wow! Thank you for making me feel extra old.
That's what I get for following Danica McKellar on Instagram.
Yeah,
She posted a picture, and she's still adorable, and so is Kevin.
What's funny is we were mentioning earlier that I did a bunch of cooking and stuff yesterday for my nephew's boyfriend's birthday. Well, it was his 32nd birthday, so he's a year younger than the Wonder Years.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
They'll never know what they missed.
I know, or they will now because it's coming back.
Maybe.
Yeah,
maybe.
We'll see.
Oh, all right, let's go ahead and move on into episode 3. Now, we're going to try to talk about these separately. So I want to try to get your guys' thoughts and feelings on the 3rd episode, regardless of all the stuff we saw in the 4th. Now, you both are caught up,
pretend we haven't seen episode 4 yet, right?
Yeah, or at least let's talk about what you thought of during the watching of episode 3. Because it is a mystery. And we need to get to this where we're doing this weekly so we can cover this. But the opening credits I thought is a good place to start, of course. But that had kind of a Brady's Bunch, Partridge Family feel to it.
It did. I was confused and I was like, oh, we're doing the Brady Bunch. And I was like, no, this is not the Brady Bunch because they would have done the tiles with the faces and the things. And I was like, it's not the Brady Bunch. It's not the Brady Bunch. And it got to the very end of I can't remember, it was the episode of the credits, and all of a sudden the song sparked it, and I was like, oh, it's the Partridge Family. It's like, that's who they are. Yeah.
Well, actually, the song at the end is the Monkees.
Is it? Oh, okay, no, okay, so it's the end of the credits then, in the beginning. End of the credits in the beginning. Yeah. What
about you, Mike? What did you think of that opening?
Well, by the time episode 3 rolled around, I was happy to see that it was in color. And it would be a little harsh on the first 3 episodes. Not too harsh. I mean, I enjoyed it, but like all my nerd friends are like, "Oh my god, it's the greatest thing ever!" And I was like, "Okay, so we did the 50s, we did the 60s. Okay, now we're doing the 70s. At least it's in color because the Marvel Universe needs color. The technology is there, and I enjoyed it. There's little bits and seeds and stuff. Just to kind of rewind to the very beginning of it, my sort of biggest critique of the show is that this is the first time we, as people who live on this actual, what Earth are we on that we live in right now?
This one's 616.
We're on Earth 616. So this is the first time in a year and a half that we've been able to indulge in the Marvel Universe. I know, nerd. Yeah. We're nerding. And so like Homecoming, Far From Home, Spider-Man came out July 2019, and so we're greeted with like, I love Lucy, and I get it, like it's cool, but I just wasn't feeling it like a lot of my other friends were, and I get the little sort of David Lynch that was peppered over it with the little mystery touches and stuff, and it, I hope it pays off. The thing is, if you do a sitcom, and that goes for episode 3, back to episode 3, if you're going to do a sitcom, com is short for comedy.
Right.
And I wasn't finding it very funny, really. I mean, the little nerd Easter eggs were cool. Like, he's running in her belly, but the jokes all, to me, fell flat. But maybe that's just me.
I'll agree with you that they weren't hilarious, but they were
Right.
also very written for the era that I think they were funnier in their respective eras. So the humor
Right.
was written for the era it was meant to. But I will say that there was one particular moment that had me laughing in both the first time and the rewatch, and that is right after the first baby is born, and Wanda is, Vision's holding the baby, he's about to lean down to kiss her, and Wanda screams, and then he screams.
Mm-hmm.
And then when she screams, he goes, "Ah, what?" And just for that delivery got me. So there was the comedy for me. They had me at that moment. That was great.
Yeah.
I wonder if with this episode, if the jokes were falling a little flat or whatnot, it's because we're getting a little bit more serious. We're getting a little bit, the holes are being poked into this reality more and more. So maybe because the first two I thought were much funnier.
Yeah.
I don't know, Mike, if you thought the first two were funny at all, or if it was just this one that wasn't as funny. So maybe it was deliberate, like the jokes weren't quite there because it just like things are slipping a little bit, like because her consciousness is
right
waking up.
Well, I think also
we got the bit where he walked in with carrying her, and then she didn't go through the. Remember, he like transmorphed
through the door, phased through the door. Yeah.
I mean, that was a funny bit, but it's like it's a nerd laugh.
Well, it could also be the fact that the first episode, other than maybe the dinner scene with the guy choking, the rest of it is pretty much in universe or in her false reality. So we're in that false reality. The second one mostly there was one or two beats that took us out, like the red helicopter toy, but the ending was so blatant that you could almost have kept slipping back in to the fake reality until the ending, and we see the rewind that it's like, no, this is not normal. And I think that's probably, for at least for me, why the third episode didn't come across as funny, because we've seen behind the curtain now.
Yeah.
There, you would have to knowingly try to the whole disbelief thing, or what's the term? Where suspension of disbelief. Thank you. Yeah. And it's hard to do that now at this point. So now we're specifically looking for the clues. We're looking for the looks on Vision's face that he's not buying it anymore, that type of stuff. So we end up with Wanda being pregnant here. And I just want to know if it was just me, or was there a lot of condescension towards women in this episode from the doctor? Yeah. So
in all three.
Well, it seems like that they're poking
in the kitchen in the first episode, right?
Yeah, but they do seem to be poking fun at, besides picking on or showing us the sitcom tropes. They're also picking on the tropes of those sitcoms, like the separate beds, like the women being kept down. There was another one I'm trying to think of, but it slipped my mind. But they're picking on those. Like the whole thing of hiding a pregnancy. When you have an actress who's pregnant and they have to hide it because it's not part of the character. Mm-hmm. So they kind of, that's why she's doing the hiding and stuff. So it just feels like that's what they're doing. What do you guys think? This is a conscious thing that they're doing?
I did a little research on the showrunner today. Mm-hmm. I told you I did homework. I never do homework.
You did? Wow. I wasn't sure you knew the word research.
Is a lady named Jack Schaefer.
Right.
And she's very influenced by Tarantino and a lot of filmmakers. I think she's like 42, 43 years old. But anyway, she was one of the writers on Black Widow, the theatrical. She wrote Captain Marvel. And then, I want to see this. I haven't seen it yet. But her first movie came out about 10 years ago. It was a movie called Timer. And it's a sci-fi rom-com. And it's about these people who get these wristwatches. And there's like a countdown until you're gonna meet your one and only, your whatever, the love of your life.
Okay.
and she decides to take the watch off because she doesn't want to know. She wants to, not be like told when, it's going to happen. So it sounds like a great concept. And
Yeah.
I think that she's really in tune with, sort of a lot of the tropes of Hollywood and a lot of, not just Hollywood, unfortunately, of the real world.
Yeah.
So I would encourage all of us to go check that out. I think before the end of the season, and it's Timer,
Oh, yeah.
and it's capital T, little I, and then MER. I don't know if there's significance to that, but anyway, it looks cool.
It sounds familiar. I don't think I've seen it, but I think I heard of it when it came out.
Yeah,
So
I'm gonna hunt it down.
Yeah,
But
that's a good question.
I felt, I don't know if you remember, I felt in the first 2 episodes that there was some of that condescension of just how you, when you look back at history and you get to do that disapproving backward glance of, they were so uninformed.
Oh yeah,
we are so enlightened now. Look at us.
You mean how teenagers look at us all now?
Yeah, exactly. That's how the first 2 episodes felt for me. It felt like a bit of that, forward-thinking elitism on those sitcoms that were very of their time.
Yeah.
I think this one was a little bit more maybe blatant or pointed.
Yeah.
Especially with the Geraldine, with her getting the job or not getting the job, there was that whole build up to he fired you because you're smart, and then it was like, because that's what you expect, right? It was no, he promoted me because I'm smart.
And I also noticed that she broke out of the 70s talk when things got real, like when she heard the sound of the crane, she was speaking like modern or non-70s cliche.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Or the doctor saying, you did a great job. You could be a
nurse,
but she is there as kind of a spy, right? I mean, from what I gathered from episode 4.
Yes.
Okay. I'm just making sure I got all this straight.
Yeah, but it seems like she's. It seems like she's. What, Rosalinda?
I said, we'll circle back to that one. I'm not sure that I got she was a spy. I mean, I
don't think she was a spy. I think she got pulled. She's not supposed to be there, and she got pulled in.
Yeah.
But we find that out in episode 4, so we're staying with 3 right now.
Gotcha. Sorry.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I skipped ahead.
This is something that I caught because of my comic reading and knowing the characters, and I was surprised at how little anybody was paying attention to this until I ended up doing a video specifically on this topic, and now I'm noticing some other people talking about it and saying they saw something online. So
it was
but in episode 3, they seem to focus on the fact that the Vision suddenly has super speed, a power the character has never had. He didn't have it in the comics. He didn't have it in any of the other movies, which makes it even more important because her brother does. Her brother is a speedster. And it made me wonder if she is in a way merging the two of them in her memory and in her fantasy world, or just not from a creepy point of view, not, Luke Leia thing, but from just the point of view of trying to piece this world together from bits. It's like, oh, there was a speedster in my life. Well, he's now that too. Because and it's almost like they never showed it in the first 2 episodes, but in the 3rd episode there was multiple showing of him being a speedster.
Right.
Yeah. What, Mike, being a comic book background like me, what did you catch of that, or did that even stand out to you?
No, I mean, they totally highlighted it because it was like, okay, in case you missed it the first time, then the second time the dude, I can't remember, it was the doctor. He's like, oh, don't, I don't want to run. You know? And then also when she said she was having the, what is it when you're pregnant and you have the
Braxton Hicks.
Yeah, but they were fast. So that means one of her kids is a speedster. Did
Right,
you catch
right.
that?
That's right. Wicked and Speed. Yeah.
So what the rumor I hear, and I don't read all the gossip, but I did catch this one, was that they do want to bring a Quicksilver into the new MCU, and we all know that they're bringing the X-Men and all that stuff. And there were two Quicksilvers. I don't know if you remember, Rosalinda.
Yep.
There was the Quicksilver in the X-Men movie, and there was Quicksilver in the Avengers movie, and which is official MCU. But the one in the X-Men movie was so much cooler than the Avengers version of Quicksilver, who got killed in Age of Ultron.
I don't know if I agree with your cooler definition there, but yeah, one was Aaron Taylor.
Yeah.
The one in the Avengers was Aaron Taylor Johnson, and the one in the X-Men was Evan Peters, which is a fascinating thing. The fact that they've both played Quicksilver and were both in the movie Kick-Ass together.
Oh wow! But so what I'm hearing is they want to bring the cool Quicksilver in from the Fox franchise.
I heard,
but you know, nerds, we all sit around and obsess over this stuff. I would be down with that.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of speculation about them wanting to bring Quicksilver back. When again, this is spoiler stuff, folks. So if you're not, this is future spoiler stuff. So let me put that up there for a second. And this is rumor. This is absolute rumor. There's no confirmation on any of this. But when the original casting was done for the people to play her children, because they're going to continue to age quickly. So the younger, so when we get to the actual actors playing the baby or the kids, the sides they got to read in the interview or the audition talked about their uncle being asleep on the couch, and their uncle would be Pietro. So there's been that hint, and then there's also talk about Evan Peters coming in as Quicksilver, or as a different character, or somehow just making him cameo as a nod for the fans. And the most recent thing I heard is in the upcoming stuff, we see Vision and Scarlet Witch in Halloween costumes that look exactly like their comic book versions of their costumes, but like homemade versions, cosplay versions. And the belief is that Evan Peters will be dressed in a comic book accurate Quicksilver costume as just somebody in the town on Halloween night. And that'll be their nod to his character. So it could go anywhere. I've heard a lot of different. That's the thing with this show, is that there's so many odd things going on. I don't think anybody has a real good handle on what's happening next. I mean, all the speculation is all over the place.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Was Don Schmidt says a lot of old shows would get powers wrong or add ones. Maybe it's the nod to that. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Superhero shows over the years have never been as accurate. I think of the 1970s Spider-Man version, who had the web shooters on the outside of his costume, or the Hulk just changing Bruce Banner's name to David Banner. Yeah, because I think the director hated the name Bruce.
Yeah, no, I know the story behind that. They said it sounded too gay back in the 70s.
I've never had this confirmed, but a friend of mine named Lee Trotter told me that he grew up on military bases in Europe, and he said that he learned that the name Bruce is a Scandinavian word for bubbles.
Oh.
Remember, there was back in the day, Dan, when we were kids, there was the Hulk versus Batman Treasury Edition.
Oh yeah, Neil Adams. Yeah,
I never read it, but I wonder if it ended like, "Your name's Bruce, my name's Bruce.
Bruce.
We should be friends." That's the best way to end a scuffle.
Absolutely. Okay, I need to actually keep my eye on the clock this time, since we went 3 hours last time. So let's keep going. What was your feeling when you started noticing the strange glitches, like Herb cutting a little too far past the hedges and into the cinder blocks?
Yeah, I was confused. I was like, something weird is happening, and I don't know what it is, but maybe something's going wrong right now. I was like, like it's a little clue.
Yeah.
Something. I don't know when though, but something.
The thought I was having, and since they were making references, like Mike pointed out, to the baby running in the stomach and stuff like that, which is the power of one of the twins. The other twin has magic power like Wanda. Perhaps some of the things that happened were him messing with the reality, kind of overriding her
Vision?
magic.
Oh.
No, not Vision, the twins, but Wiccan and Speed.
Oh, Wiccan.
Billy and like the stork. How come she couldn't get rid of the stork? She could change reality turns. Why couldn't she get rid of the stork? Anybody?
Well, what was that movie that came out a long time ago? I want to say Adam Sandler starred in it, and it was like he was in a TV world. Came out about 20 years ago.
Truman Show?
And everything was fabricated. Do you remember what I'm talking about?
I think it's Truman Show, but that was Jim Carrey.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I get those guys all confused. But anyway, so yeah, it's kind of like a Truman Show. I mean, honestly, like I would say if you had to do the elevator pitch for WandaVision, it's Truman Show meets Twin Peaks in the Marvel universe, you know?
Okay, if you're doing an elevator pitch for WandaVision, then you better hope it's the Empire State Building and you have a very long elevator ride, because this is not a quick pitch.
Oh, that needs to go on the DVD, dude. No, but I have a couple of theories. My main theory is that like this is all in her head, which is the most obvious, sort of approach, and so like even again, like little spoiler, like she says I control everything. It's like that's quite literal. So it like I think Vision's still dead. Robots can't make babies, so that's her. She manifested that within herself somehow. I hope my girlfriend can't do that. But but the other theory, which would be kind of cool, and it's not my theory, it's something I read somewhere, but she's living in the Mojo universe. So Mojo, if you remember, was a supervillain who was obsessed with television. So everything was TV based, and maybe it's an element of what's going on. Because I don't see like Wanda's young, I don't see her being obsessed with I Love Lucy and the Brady Bunch and all this shit. Like, Elizabeth Olsen is very young.
But
I'm old and I'm not obsessed with it.
Right, but she also grew up in a European country, of Sokovia, where I know a lot of European. You talk to some people who've come over and they learn English by watching television shows, and what they get over there are a lot of the older syndicated TV shows. So where we're not like when you and I when we were kids, we'd stay home sick from school and you turn on TV and that's when you got I Love Lucy and all those shows.
Leave It to Beaver and all that.
There really weren't 27,000 cable networks and streaming services. You got what came on and that was it.
Right. So
I think it's possible that I guess I buy into that, but maybe it's being an older person. I buy into that, where, kids who didn't grow up with those shows on constantly. I don't know. But it works for me, I guess.
What are you guys hearing? And I'm wondering was the going back to the 50s sitcom format working for the show? It works for me. I think, Dan, it works for you. Mike, it's not working for you. But like for a younger audience, is that like, did they lose them immediately? Well,
I don't know about for a younger audience. I know my best friend I've been watching the show with. I just rewatched 3 and 4 today, and she was about to tap out. She's like, I don't know. I said, well, I need to rewatch them for tonight. She goes, all right. Because she watched the first two. She thought they were fine, but really wasn't drawn to do the next ones. She watched the third one and was like, okay. And then she watched the fourth one. And she's like, oh, I'm in. This is great.
And
And I
that's so
think,
funny.
yeah, and I think it's, I think if you, and this might be us being writers, we're looking for those threads. We're looking for that deeper meaning and stuff. And some people just want to be entertained and they want certain type of entertainment. And this is not standard Marvel fare. This is not an MCU movie. You know, this isn't Ant-Man. This isn't Doctor Strange. It's none of that. It's something completely unique. And I think that's where a lot of the problem came from. I don't know, Mike, you might have a different take on this.
Well, I talk to a lot of people because I have the comic shop. So I had a customer come in yesterday, and she and her sister live together. And her sister's not that much younger than her, but a little bit younger. And she's like, I love it. My sister hates it. She's like, I watch it, and like oh, that's the lamp from Leave It to Beaver, or that's the staircase from Brady Bunch. Like there's actual nods. Like if you're a hardcore fan of these,
Right.
Old school. Like once they get to different strokes, I'm in. But until then, I need some.
What you talking about, Michael?
Bit, you know what I mean? But so like, I think it's going to appeal to some people, and I think, I consider myself a very nostalgic person, all the records and stuff, but and I watched a lot of TV in the 70s and 80s, so maybe it'll grow on me. But I do think they are taking a chance of losing, the younger audience, and especially like making the first 3 episodes about just these old TV shows. I mean, who knows? Maybe kids are going to watch it and be like, oh, I want to watch Bewitched now. I doubt it. But the one thing I'll say about the Marvel Universe, the MCU, is like I grew up in an era where they came from these TV movies like Dan was mentioning with Nicholas Hammond and really, kind of crappy outfits to like the Sam Raimi Spider-Man in the early 2000s. And there were hits and misses like Ghost Rider, but then when Iron Man hit and it became a brand, like it was that red and white. And then the openings was like, you hear the pages flip, know? And it's like, whatever they do, like pretty much the audience is on board. Right. And so think about it. They've done espionage movies like with Winter Soldier.
Right.
I guess they're about to do a horror movie with the new Doctor Strange. I mean, they've really taken the goodwill of the audience and experimented, I think, as much as a major film franchise can, So, and this is another experiment, and maybe it hits and maybe it doesn't. My favorite Marvel is Guardians of the Galaxy, so that's like their 80s sci-fi riff.
Yeah,
but
their Star Wars.
But, we're talking about Wanda tonight. So yeah, I mean, this is okay. This is the Marvel's take on the history of television sitcoms.
I think you just hit on something. Marvel is answering a pet peeve of mine. People like to refer to superhero movies as a genre, and I disagree with that 100% because to me it's the same thing as cop movies. People try to, it's a cop movie as a genre. Being a cop isn't a genre, because when you can have a movie like Police Academy and also Die Hard and Blue Steel and all these, you get these super dramatic cop movies. Training Day, thank you. There's a good example. Yeah. They're not all the same movie. One's a comedy. One's, Police Academy is not the same thing as Training Day. They're not the same genre in any sense of the word, other than somebody has a badge. Superhero movies are the same thing. Iron Man is not the same movie as Shazam. It's not the same thing as Captain America. Captain America, the First Avenger, was a war movie, where Iron Man was more of a kind of a sci-fi, in a sense. And then you look at Ant-Man. Ant-Man was a heist movie, so they've got a superhero in it. The superhero is the main character, but that's not a genre. And I think that whatever Marvel movie they do, the genre is going to change. and they hired the director specific for that. So this is still a Marvel property, and it's still a superhero theme, but it's not any genre. It's Twilight Zone in a lot of ways, with a heavy dose of nostalgia. And I think the nostalgia continues into the 4th episode because, goddamn, if that doesn't feel like an X-Files episode.
Sounds like a segue.
Yeah, we're just about to switch over. So I was just going to ask, what do you guys think at the end of it? First thing, when Monica dropped the act again, or snapped out of it, and asked about Ultron killing Pietro. Now, I know, Rosalinda, I want to know what your point of view was, being that you haven't really watched the other movies.
Okay. Well, so I don't kick me off the show.
I'm not.
No,
so
never.
Nobody
wants to watch two ugly dudes.
Yeah, that's 100% true.
Bless
we
you,
don't
Mike.
care how much you know.
So Dan was like, go watch this 7-minute backstory of Wanda. So I watched it, and I was like, oh well, I'm like, I guess if it was an Avengers movie, I'll go watch the Avengers movie. And I did fall asleep halfway through it. So it could have been because I had some wine, and not because it was boring. Who knows?
It was boring.
Thor was in it, and I'm all there for Thor. So so I'm more aware of the backstory for Wanda. I didn't watch the end of it, but from watching the TV show, I'm piecing things together here. So it was not a total shocker for me, and from our first episode, hearing about Wanda's past and everything. But I don't know enough to know exactly what she's talking about. So those little nuggets for me are nuggets of intrigue.
Okay.
Right. So I don't exactly know, but I'm waiting to find out.
Okay. For me, it was almost like a reminder that we are in the MCU. Because I kind of been taken out of it. I know I'm watching Wanda in the Vision, but it hasn't felt like an MCU. So to suddenly have reference to Ultron, to an actual villain, it was like, oh, wait, that's right. This is actually part, it was that brief moment. I was wondering how it hit you, Mike.
Well, so like Rosalinda said earlier, as the series has gone on for episode 1 through 3 only, we're talking, you see little pinholes being popped into Wanda's fabricated reality. And, one thing I've learned about grief, just having studied, is in real life, people will put themselves fully into their work or fully into something and just disconnect from reality. And that's one of the themes of this series, I think, is grieving, because one of my criticisms is okay, she dated a robot for a movie, okay, and and just destroyed her world. But we're gonna take that and we're gonna go, okay. I mean, he's a robot, maybe
Mike,
semi-sentient.
the heart wants what it wants, Mike.
Okay. There are these things I learned about they sell in Japan, but anyway, robots. But anyway, so this destroyed the fabric of her existence, and she created a new existence, and that's what we are kind of assuming what happened. I forgot where I was going with that, but what was the question, Dan?
I don't know if I remember at this point, Mike.
Okay.
We were talking about how the mention of Ultron would how you reacted to that.
So that's what they would call a trigger, right? Say, Bruce Wayne, Joe Chill. Somebody says Joe Chill, and after it's going to trigger him, because Joe Chill killed Bruce Wayne's parents, and it's going to pull her out of this fantasy world that she's built, and you saw what happened. It kind of enraged her, and she sent Monica back into the universe we know and love, instead of outside of her head. That's what I think. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. One of our listeners, Andrew, says that is a way to break both Wanda and our audience with the mention of Ultron, break out of the fake reality.
Mm-hmm.
And he does bring up the fact that the romance between Wanda and Vision has always been questioned all the way back into the comics. So there's always been the outside people, like Wonder Man was always questioning why she was with Vision because he wanted her himself. But that'll come up in a conversation in a few minutes anyway.
I mean, real quick, full disclosure.
Yeah.
Like, there's some character. I'm a comic retailer, so I shouldn't say this, but I'm gonna say it. There's some characters I never gave a shit about. The Fantastic Four, Vision, and Wanda. Like, I was like, who cares? I was a big fan of West Coast Avengers, and they're great. Like as a seasoning in the West Coast Avengers. But like they were just so uninteresting to me. Like the most interesting thing about Wanda is she could do anything, but there's really not much about her character. You know, I mean, my favorite character is Moon Knight, so I'm really looking forward to
Moon Knight series.
Is that his name?
No, it's going to be Oscar Isaac.
So you got to have me back when that starts.
Yeah, it's Oscar Isaac who's going to play Moon Knight.
Oscar Isaac, yeah. I'm sorry.
Pedro's the Mandalorian. Yeah.
Yes.
I can't keep these kids straight anymore, man.
Okay, last question, then we're going to get on to episode 4 because I think that's going to be the big one. But at the end, when he's talking to Agnes and Herb. I keep wanting to say Herb because I've been doing too much cooking lately. Herb. But
sure you have.
He just had that weird conversation with the doctor where he's talking about how, small towns are hard to escape from. And then he wanders over and he talks to the neighbors and they're, well, Monica, she shouldn't be here. She doesn't have a home. She doesn't have family. And Herb wants to say she came here because and doesn't answer. And I just want to get a quick response from you. What do you think he was about to say before Agnes stopped him?
Dead.
Dead. Okay. You too, Mike? You think dead?
Because we're dead.
Okay.
You think Earth?
I was leaning more towards trapped, but yeah.
Sword. I think there's some other agents of Sword that are there observing, and I mean we're gonna find out hopefully next week. But yeah, I think once one goes in, and I mean, again, episode 4 we see they're watching, so I think that people are deployed into the mind of Wanda.
Okay, well let's just go right into episode 4. And I don't know about you guys, but the way it opened just hit me like a hammer because it was just suddenly seeing her reform from the dust, coming back from the blip. And it's like, okay, totally not expected. And then just the strength. You mentioned that Jock Schaefer was the writer of Captain Marvel. So it makes perfect sense that we were dealing with Monica and her mom, Maria, who are both from the Captain Marvel movie. Mm-hmm. So, but to see people return from the blip where it got hinted at in the Spider-Man Far From Home, or we got to see little, but we didn't really deal with the actual effect on somebody. And I hadn't even thought about the possibility of, well, who did you lose in the 5 years you were gone? And it might have hit me extra hard having my own father just passed away a couple months ago to learn that you lost out on 2 years with your parent. Just that floored me. I was just at that point, it was so not what I was expecting. But at the same time, I thought it was really well done and a really strong opening. And I just, what did you guys think of the opening? Let's go with Mike.
Well, I feel you too. I lost my mom within the last 5 years too. So it's like if I blipped, I'd probably have more money. But yeah, I mean, I was glad to finally be back into not this, what I feel was a very gimmicky sort of decade of the week show and into some real storytelling. And I mean, move it, push it forward. That's why I don't think this was the best re-entry I think maybe Falcon and Winter Soldier would have been a better, like, opening salvo than
Okay.
this. But I felt, okay, we're back in the MCU. We're gonna explore more, and it's funny because, like, I was watching it, and Kat Dennings, which I totally forgot she was, part of the MCU, as in Thor: Dark World as Darcy, and then the dude Randall Park, who plays Jimmy Woo. And so, like, it's cool that these people are getting a moment to shine, and I'm like, and so when I was watching it, I was like, oh, I thought it was a new character. I was like, but she's familiar. So I did my research today. I was like, oh yeah, that's the girl from Thor. So, and she's playing the same character. It's not like, just regurgitating. And then I think they're really setting up Monica Rambeau, which I always called her Rambeau because the way it's spelled, I thought it was Rambeau, but they're like Rambo, which I think could be confusing for kids in mid America, But
I noticed that Jimmy Woo called her Rambo, like, Sylvester Stallone's character, but everybody else called her Rambeau, where you put the accent on the a long O, which is the New Orleans or Cajun, style of Rambeau,
which is what I
instead of Rambo.
Would be more, yeah.
Yeah, it is supposed to be Rambeau, and everybody else calls her that. Only Jimmy Woo refers to her as Rambo.
Right. One thing I noticed too, real quick, just kind of a quick aside, was, and I don't know if this was specific to episode 4, but the aspect ratio would change. Did you guys notice that?
Yes.
I noticed
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, the aspect ratio would match the era that it was supposed to be in. Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, oh, that was, and I didn't notice it till like 4, but yeah. So no, it was great. It was good to see the movie or the story move forward, rather than just like, okay, this is a cute Brady Bunch riff with a few clues, And I'm glad that, because I did the math, because I was like, all right, how long do I have to watch this shit? Like, okay, we're in the 50s, 60s, 70s. Like, they're gonna run out of decades, and they're gonna have to eventually tell a story.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm glad that they interrupted this programming. I think that was the name of the episode. Like,
yes, it was. We interrupt this program.
And it's like, okay, like, give us something. Like, don't make me wait 8 weeks, 9 weeks. It reminded me back in the 70s. Do you remember Buck Rogers?
Gil Gerard. Yeah.
When they would do, like, Happy Birthday Buck, and it was like the birthday episode. It was almost like a clip show, where it's like, okay, he would be on trial or whatever. Like, Buck, remember when you did this? And it would show like 5 minutes of an episode. It was like a money-saving thing they would do. I don't know if this was a money-saving thing, but it was like they would do these clips. Like, oh yeah, remember?
Yeah, it was the early equivalent of a bottle episode. Basically, an episode to save money. Yeah.
But this was better than everything else we've seen.
Yeah, I think I agree with you that they could not have gone and done another genre or another decade episode without this. They would have lost a lot of people. I think they strung it out. They could not have strung it out any longer. They had to do something like this at this point to keep the audience there is. Yeah.
I'm going to say I disagree 100%.
You're in 100% on this one?
I did disagree. I was disappointed when we came back to, reality time. I missed the sitcom format. I missed what was going on in WandaVision over there in sitcom land. I like the specialness of the up and the feel of the other episodes and the nostalgia of the other episodes. So for me, I was like, now it's going to be normal. So I'm going to be really excited if they do go back to the sitcom.
It'll probably
get the 80s and the 90s and the mid 2000s or whatever we get. But yeah, I knew it was coming, but I was like, man, it's only got 3 episodes of the sitcom. Shoot.
I think they're going to go back, but now we have.
Yeah, I think it'll be a mix now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because we've seen footage of them, what looks to be like a Full House set,
Okay.
And you can't have Elizabeth Olsen on there and not at least do a full house.
True.
I didn't even put that together. You're right.
Yeah, and it does look like they might take off on the Wonder Years, but I think it's going to be less self-contained. You know, I think it's going to be kind of a mix that will go back and forth. So we'll follow the X-Files stuff on the outside, and then we'll follow what Wanda's going on the inside.
Now, Mike, you keep saying that this is going on in Wanda's head, right? But I don't think it can be going on. I think Wanda's maybe creating it, but I don't think we get the penetration of the drones and people and the other things in that sort of like that. And I really loved it. The what looks like a force field, but also looks like the an old television snow screen shimmer.
Yeah.
Right? I don't think you get that.
And then it's also like to what you were saying, like there's scenes that like if it's all in her head, there's scenes like that she's not even in. Like
with, I was thinking that too.
Yeah. So no, I it's just a theory, but I don't know. I mean,
I want to say,
what was that
does
Stephen King show?
You
that
said
took
she's
place in the
powerful, right? Sorry.
Huh?
You guys say she's really powerful. She can do anything.
Just about chaos magic.
So can she just make another vision? Like, because that stuff is happening outside of her frame of reference, right? So as a writer, like you're writing from first person point of view, my editor will be like, "You can't do that. We don't know what they're thinking," right?
I don't think she can manifest life forms.
I don't think so either, and I don't think she is. And this jumps ahead in the episode, but that reveal that the Vision is actually the corpse of the Vision. You know, that moment where we see him with the gray face and the hole in his head and the blank eyes is she's reanimating that corpse. And I'm torn between it being just her reanimating Vision with maybe the data download from that they backed up in the Avengers movie, or she's cast Vision and combined him with one of the people living in the town. Like she's cast everybody else.
Oh, so you think the people in the town are real, like just humans living in the town, and they've been like hijacked.
Absolutely, just like Monica was.
Oh.
That's why when she got in there, she got a role. And you'll notice that when they start identifying the people, put them on the whiteboard, they're saying, oh, this person cast as Mr. Hart. This one cast as Mrs. Hart. And they gave the real names. I think these are the real people who live in that town.
Interesting.
And I think that's a real town. And it's just her magic has made everybody forget. And she's controlling everybody to be this role that she's given them.
Okay, can I just jump in with Once Upon a Time reference?
In her head, like, why couldn't, like, you know, the first episode where the boss comes and all the chaos is happening in the kitchen, like, if it's all in her head, why not just fix it, you know, like.
Well, and I think it's because there's so much she's trying to control at once that sometimes it slips. But Rosalinda, you were going to make a reference?
I was going to do a Once Upon a Time reference because now this feels like.
Fuck that show.
Yeah, I know. I love it and I hate it.
I'm just kidding.
It's the evil queen creating the town of Storybrooke, and everyone has their role, and everyone does what they're supposed to do, and they have no prior memories. They came from another land, and everything is the same all the time, except for her. She's the only one that has consciousness, and thus I feel that reference. Yeah,
as Andrew points out, that everybody on the board have their name, their picture, and their driver's license, except Agnes doesn't have a driver's license, and Dottie is not on the board.
Who's Dottie?
Who's Dottie?
Dottie is the blonde woman who runs the town. She had the problem. The one that cut her hand was bleeding red.
Oh, and they had the little pool party thing?
Yeah. And I've got a separate video I did on that one because in Marvel Comics, there's a character named Arcana who's part of the Squadron Supreme, who is a blonde who can also do magic. And in she's married to a guy named Phil Jones, and Dottie's husband in the series is Phil Jones. So I'm just wondering if there's a connection. But now that we're seeing And now I'm questioning that because we're seeing that everybody has a real name and then their character name. So yeah, I'm not sure what's going on there. That's a character that I think is still going to be important down the line. That Dottie's going to be something more than just another cast member.
And they also set her up as the most important woman in town. You have to get on her good side. So I would agree.
Yeah, I think the mystery characters for me right now are Agnes, Dottie, and Agnes's husband Ralph, who we've never seen. And I don't know if this is
That's
like
the dude who was in the bushes, right?
No, that's Herb. She refers to Ralph always as a joking way, like, oh, he looks better in the dark, or, oh, if you want someone to volunteer to disappear, take my husband. But we never see him. And that's kind of interesting to me. It might just be like a nod to the way Phyllis Diller used to do her jokes about her husband Wolfgang, or Fang. She referred to him as Fang. And, there's always these cracks about Fang, but we never met Fang. Mm-hmm. So, okay, looking at my thing here. I don't know if you guys caught this, but one of the things I love about the show is the Easter eggs. And one of my favorite in the 4th episode is when we meet Jimmy Woo. And the first thing the officer, the first thing he does is he walks up to Monica and he makes his business card appear like a magic trick, which is a callback to the Ant-Man and the Wasp movie, where he's talking to Ant-Man, or to Scott Lang's character, who does that same magic trick, and he is fascinated by it. And then later in the same movie, he's watching videos on how to do the trick. So now we're 5 years after the movie, and he's doing the magic trick. So it's just such a neat little callback to that fact that he was interested in the magic, and now that he's gotten good at it,
Yeah. And
especially in the middle of a show about somebody with chaos magic and how it's going to lead into the Doctor Strange movie. You got this guy doing little close-up magic. So
I missed it.
Yeah. It's subtle. And that's what I loved about it, is that it literally was just him walking and going, I'm Agent Jimmy Woo.
I mean, dude, like, love it or hate it, like, how cool is it that, here we are, we're all quarantined, we can't really go to the movies, we can't do much of anything. We got something to look forward to on Friday night. Like, it's become my date night. It's like, and it's gone from Mandalorian to now this, and I guess next is Falcon and Winter Soldier, and then Loki. It's like, there's just something, something to look forward to every week, and I think
something
this
to
is the new
podcast
model
about
for the next, year or two. I hopefully not 2 years, but it's the new model for now. Like, and we and then we do this Zoom stuff, and talk about it, and that's but at least it's something,
Oh yeah, I know. I agree with you 100%. I think this is, as much as I do love movie theaters, I think this is kind of the new way, and with Marvel and Star Wars really embracing it, and I guess DC is going to start trying to as well. I think we're going to get some of the best stuff they could do in these formats, because comic books are meant to be long form stories, and we spend so much time in movies just condensing them that you lose a lot of the essence, where what we see in The Mandalorian was just so much better storytelling and being able to take your time and pace than what we've been getting in the movies. And we're getting that here in WandaVision as well. We've seen basically a 2-hour movie of WandaVision, and they're just now getting to the meat. They wouldn't have been able to do that in the theater. If you took the 4 episodes we just saw, put in the theater, how many people would be happy with that?
I'd be very angry.
Yeah, it's like, there better be another movie in another theater. Like, just got to change my seat or what?
I just
there
came
better
out
be more
of a
rolling
night movie.
Yeah, yeah.
But
all right, so basically, the episode has, first thing, I love the fact they brought Darcy back from the Thor movies.
Love it. Can I just say, that was like a jump up and down the couch moment. I was like, I know who that person is, and I know what she does, and I know what movie she's from.
Oh yeah, nice. You're like Captain America and the Avengers going, I got that reference.
Right.
I personally would love to watch an X-Files style show with Darcy, Jimmy, and Monica.
Amazing.
Wouldn't that be great? And maybe they'll all be in the Secret Invasion movie they talked about coming up, because that's going to be kind of sword related, or not the movie, but the TV series. But
is Sam Jackson starring in that?
Yeah, Sam Jackson and Ben Mendelsohn will both be in it.
Oh, cool.
So, but when we got to those characters, one of the things that surprised me was that Darcy got in there. She figured out what the radiation was. She saw the extra bandwidth. She found the little TV set, turned it on, and it started almost exactly where the TV series started. So in a way, we're the agents of S.W.O.R.D. at this point, because we're asking the same questions they're putting up on their whiteboard. We're watching the episodes just like they were. We're seeing what they're seeing, the commercials, everything else. So that leads me to a lot of questions, and just going to throw them all out and then let you guys respond. Was there anything before that? Monica went in there. She finds the TV like 24 hours later, and we start seeing the first episode. What happened that first 24 hours she's in there? Was there an episode of an older 40s sitcom that we didn't get to see? And also, why is it being broadcast? Who's broadcasting this? Is somebody wanting S.W.O.R.D. to see this? Or, there you go. Let's get some theories here. Who's editing it? I mean, Wanda's editing the time to make the story go, but certain things are being shown even.
The S.W.O.R.D. channel, where I want to call her Kat Dennings. What's her name in the thing?
Darcy.
Where Darcy's watching, that she rewinds and she's like, wait a minute, where did she go? And we saw it, but they didn't get to see it. You're right. So there has to be somebody editing that stuff out.
Yeah. And if they're editing it, then they mean for somebody to see it.
Sure.
So well, that's my point, is why broadcast in the first place and why edit?
Maybe I was thinking question. Maybe the edits are. Hold on, we're gonna put these pieces together.
Okay.
Is that it doesn't fit, right? It doesn't fit into the time frame. Although, you know what, they saw the helicopter, that doesn't fit either. So never mind.
All right, I'm gonna get metaphysical on y'all.
Okay,
please
do it.
All right. So you ever been in the room, and this has happened to me, and somebody comes in and you can just sense, like, either positive, like there's some people you just automatically, like, you don't know this person at all. It's like, oh my God, like, yeah, like automatic friends, or somebody you've known for years and you just know their energy is negative. Like, it's like my former business partner. And like when they come in, it just, everything just kind of comes down, like everybody's mood changes, like not just your own, but everybody.
Yeah.
And so I feel like, Wanda being this mega psionic character, like she can't contain this energy. So it becomes this broadcast that, people, you can't, like, if you have the device, like the TV, the old school TV, it can pick it up and you can kind of see it, it's definitely like a leap, but it's true. Like, there are people who have good energy, bad energy, whatever. And you don't have to be a mind reader to feel it, to see it. I don't know. Just a theory.
Okay.
And we're in the Marvel universe, so it could be valid.
True. I think Andrew agrees with your earlier comment that he thinks this whole thing's being beamed to Mojo World.
That would be cool. I would love that.
That
would play Mojo, dude.
Oh my God, it'd have to be CGI. It's such an odd shaped character. He's like
their somebody. John
What
Goodman.
Well, I don't know, but he built like Jabba the Hutt.
Yeah.
I'm gonna actually let me pull up a picture of Mojo so we can show you. But another thing that I'm wondering about is what the reason Jimmy Woo is there has to do with a missing witness. And what do you guys think is the significance? Is this just a throwaway character, or?
Mm-mm.
No?
I don't even know how he fits
throwaway
in, but no. Mm-mm. Especially because he was the one contacting her on the radio before episode 2, right? What are they doing to you, Wanda? Mm-hmm. He's got to be very important, or important in some way.
Yeah. Just so anybody who doesn't know, real quick, just so anybody who doesn't know Mojo, let's pop this up real quick. And then Rosalinda can see it as well.
He's got skills, Dan. Oh, that's Earth.
Doesn't that show Mojo?
Yeah. Or it shows something.
I see the Earth.
Yeah. Big yellow guy?
I can see it.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, you can see the Earth, Mike. I think it's because you're on the cell phone. But for anybody watching this, like on YouTube and stuff, they can see a picture of Mojo. So, all right, we'll go back to our normal format. But yeah, I'm kind of curious, and the fact that there's somebody in witness protection in this small town, yeah, it makes me really interested. I think we lost Mike.
No, he's there. I can see Mike.
Well, because he just popped up in the green room again.
Oh, I'm coming back.
There you are.
Mojo,
we have 2 mics.
Okay.
Oh, no.
There we go.
Dude, like Mojo does not like me. Mojo's like, get out of here.
Definitely.
Mojo was like, "Don't put me on that
That's
show."
So funny.
Damn it, Mike.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Andrew brings up a point on the says, I wonder if Wanda is just going through sitcoms she watched growing up in Sokovia that made her happy or comforted her. And I think that is it. I think she's using the sitcoms as kind of therapy from the things she watched as a kid, because she's never had a normal life. So in her mind, that's what she thinks is a normal life. And maybe that's why we're getting the commercials and the closing and opening credits, because that's what she's watched. Those episodes, everything was in 30-minute bites. And where I don't know if I was trying to make a fantasy world for myself, I would include those aspects, but it is possible.
Do we think,
like that format better? There we go.
Do we think that this is that she's doing this consciously, or is she doing it maybe unconsciously or subconsciously?
The fact that she seems surprised at the end of the episode when she shoots Monica through the wall, that she can do it. I think it's I think it's subconsciously to the, where she gets lost in it. Now, whether she's trying to get lost in it, or if there's actually another outside force helping her get lost in it, that I think is the nature of the story or the mystery that's going on. But she is doing a lot of it subconsciously. Just like some of the things in 3 where the baby started fluttering and then the butterflies turned alive, or all the house going crazy. I think her powers, she's going on emotion. I don't think it's, like I said, I don't think she's consciously doing this stuff. And I think she's surprised some of it, like her shock at seeing the Vision dead again. So,
yeah.
Well, it's almost like she can't help herself.
Sorry, Mike.
Sorry.
That's okay. Go ahead.
I said it's like she can't help herself.
Yeah.
She said I control everything, right?
She said she's in control of everything. Yeah.
That is true.
At the end. What about you, Rosalinda? What do you think? Is it subconsciously?
Well, okay. So from the little backstory that I have, she has lost Vision and her brother. I don't know what happens to her twins. I'm almost afraid. Are there real twins? Are these twins real? You know what?
Finish your thought, and I'll give you the comic book background real quick.
It feels like intense grief.
Mm-hmm.
That sort of in that I'm not playing anymore. Like I want nothing to do with this whole reality that I'm faced with, and I'm gonna go over here, and I'm gonna live in my own space where I can protect myself. And I feel like that's what she's doing. There's a lot of self-protection that she's doing, like especially when Monica is, she sees the sword, and so she's like, wait a minute, you're not a right person, and you're interrupting my safe space here. And then that's when she like pushes her out. So yeah, that's what I think she's doing.
The quick Cliff Note version of the comic is that Wanda Wanda basically was used by the demon Mephisto, is the Marvel version of the devil. Or Mephistopheles. And what he did was he took two pieces of his soul, she created these twins using the two pieces of his soul, and by giving birth to them would allow him to come to Earth.
Sure.
So, and then he would just have to bring those back into him, and then he would be able to come to Earth. So they were this manifested children. They weren't real. But later on in a series called House of M, she totally loses everything. Her just snaps, and she brings those kids back and make them real.
Okay.
And now they exist, and they're actually heroes in the Marvel universe called Wiccan and Speed.
Oh, okay.
So, though they've been,
and she also eliminated most of the mutant population in that storyline. I remember she said no more mutants. I don't think they died, but they all lost their powers except for 198 of them, which is more than enough mutants to have mutant powers.
so she is definitely alpha level power.
Yeah.
She also did something, Dan, do you remember, like the thing that kicked off Brian Bendis's run of New Avengers? There was the last 4 issues of Avengers, and
the Disassembled?
like the Disassembled. Yeah, she was responsible for that, wasn't she?
Yeah, but that led into House of M.
Great. She needs therapy.
Yeah, but that's what caused House of M to happen. Was Disassembled led into House of M. Okay. Yeah. Okay, this brings me up to another point. Is if you've noticed the things that she creates, though, Monica's wardrobe, the jump rope, that when the beekeeper or the hazmat suit becomes the beekeeper suit, the line that turns into a jump rope, those things still exist when they're taken outside the bubble.
Okay.
So does that mean that the things she creates inside the bubble can exist outside the bubble? In which case, can she bring back the Vision?
Maybe.
And can her kids exist outside the bubble?
I'm going to say I hope so.
Okay. Mike?
What do you think? I don't know. I don't want to commit.
I feel like Mike's not a fan of the robot, magician love here.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just, we'll see. I don't know. It is interesting, and it's one of those things. Like, what I hope is by episode 9, it's 9 episodes, right?
Yes.
Because Kevin Feige, he has promised that there's going to be a payoff, and so I'm going on this journey, and we've all gone on journeys like this before with shows called Lost.
Yes.
I'm imagining Once Upon a Time, Twin Peaks.
Which they did Lost too. Once Upon a Timers, they were somehow
they were writers on Lost.
Well,
they
were
writers on Lost. Yeah.
So I didn't watch Lost. Was Lost horrible at the end also?
Yes.
Great. Okay, so this is what they do. Nobody watched Epic.
I only watched the first few. All I remember was like watching a few and then not watching it, and then seeing all my friends be so disappointed at the end. And I'm like, oh, I'm glad I never watched it.
Okay.
The biggest problem with American television, and I say American because the British television series have figured this out, is know when to stop.
Yeah.
Right.
They
Yeah.
always go 1, 2, 3 episodes too many. X-Files, when David
Seasons too many.
Duchovny and Gillian Anderson decided to leave, and then they brought in Robert Patrick and I can't remember the other woman's name. It was like, no, you went too far. You could have just stopped. So many shows needed to stop because you come in and tell a
Duke's
story
a hazard,
and get
man.
out. Oh, the cousins, the two, yeah, exactly.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah, you got to know when to leave is the bottom line.
Yeah.
And most American shows don't. They go until the audience leaves, and it's because they've jumped the shark. I mean, there's a reason the term "jump the shark" exists because it happened in Happy Days. They actually jumped a freaking shark.
Battlestar Galactica did it right. I just want to point that out.
Yeah.
Battlestar.
Shows should have. Yeah,
they were at the top of their game. They won the Peabody, and they ended. Boom, because that story reached it.
That have ended beautifully.
Oh yeah.
Oh my
God! But they're few and far between.
Very few and far. Very few shows end in a satisfying way for the audience that cherishes them.
Yep.
Or they go on too long and they screw it up. Once upon a time.
An odd example of a show that I thought actually had a satisfying end when I didn't think it was possible. There was a 1-season show called Forever that starred Ian Goffard, who played Mr. Fantastic in the same Fantastic Four movie as Chris Evans played Johnny Storm. He was
the original FF movies.
Yeah. Goffard played a guy who was unable to die. He basically, if he got killed, he would suddenly just show up naked in the nearest large body of water. So living in New York, he would just suddenly appear naked in the Hudson River. And Judd Hirsch played his son, who is now older than him because he also didn't age, and would always, whenever he find out, would drive and pick his dad up. But again, Judd Hirsch is much older than Ian Goffard, so it's a very weird dynamic. And they only got 1 season. But the mystery of but there was a female cop that he was working with. He was a coroner, and he was working with this cop. And by the end of the series, they knew they weren't getting a season 2. So they were able to at least wrap up the story between him and the cop to where he was going to tell her everything at the end. So it's like, okay, you only gave us 1 season. I would love to have seen more of this, but at least you gave us a satisfactory ending that we can go, okay, at least the story is told.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but that is rare nowadays. Shows just
that never happened in the 80s.
Oh yeah.
You remember the end of V, the old 80s show V?
Mm-hmm.
Like most of the characters were killed. The star princess got kidnapped by the alien. This is old school. And then, okay, that's it. I've been depressed for 36 years since then.
Yeah, it's like Big Bang Theory. They should have ended it when Wolowitz was up in space, and he accidentally, turns out there are space lasers up there, and he hit the button by accident and destroys the Earth. Great way to end the Big Bang Theory. That would have been just
perfect.
Just don't even tell anybody you're ending it. Just do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
What's your most unsettling or unfulfilling ending, Rosalind? Besides Once Upon a Time.
I was gonna say, Once Upon a Time really is. It's so remarkably bad. Like they basically ended it on season 5, I think, and then they came back and they did a hack season 6 without half the characters. Like you just. Anyway, yeah. Because we were talking about good endings. I was thinking of all these shows that had really great endings, so that's where my mind was. So.
Yeah.
No, let's go positive then.
You know what show that I really, really, really loved their finale was Monk. I thought it was beautifully done, and it was so satisfying and correct. And it wasn't, and I didn't see it coming. You had like a 2-parter last episode, and they brought it all together, and you were just like, and you just felt good leaving the characters. You're like, everything's fine now. I'm okay. Right?
Yeah.
That's cool.
No, you're right about the 80s. We had stuff.
What did?
The Wonder Years.
We were talking about
I
Wonder
don't
Years
remember
earlier.
the end of the Wonder Years.
So
I don't
the Wonder
either.
Years was they kind of flash forwarded a little bit, and because remember Kevin always narrated the stories every week.
Yeah.
It was adult Kevin.
Yeah.
So it was like their graduation, and he's talking about it was a graduation episode, and then his dad, I can't remember Dan, who played his dad.
Oh,
his name was Dan something.
Yeah, Dan. Keep talking. I'll look it up.
Dan Wickline.
Yeah, I played him. Yeah.
Yeah. No, but he's like, and then a year later, like it was this really like triumphant like graduation and blah blah blah. And he's like, a year later, my dad died, and it's like,
Okay.
and I was kind of like in the same grade as Kevin Arnold was when that show was coming on. Obviously in the 80s, 90s rather than the 60s, but I had that same journey, and it was like, oh man, and like that show was just good back to front, and but yeah, I guess I don't watch it, but a lot of people really dig Supernatural.
Dan Lauria played the father.
Yeah.
Supernatural, I thought it was a great start and had amazing episodes, but it was stretched. I mean, it went, 13 seasons?
15.
15? Okay.
I think
Yeah.
so, yeah.
Long. Like, that's really long.
Yeah. Some shows just need to know, okay, let's just cut it now.
And also, I feel like somewhere in there, the actors are like, let me the F out of here.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to do this anymore.
So they did save themselves when they cast Rick Springfield as the devil. So that's a saving grace for me, because I'm a Springfield fan. So yes, yep. You cast Rick Springfield in something, I'm there. Californication. Springfield showed up and saved the third season of that show.
Nice.
Especially since everybody referred to him as Rick Springfield. It was never Rick or Mr. It was always, hey, Rick Springfield. Hey, Rick Springfield wants a Coke. And he'd even talk about himself that way too. It was great.
That's cool.
I love it.
Yeah. Okay. Just see if there's any other things I wanted to hit on. Okay. What are your overall impressions at this point on, now that we've gotten the info dump of episode 4? Where do you think we're going next? Let's go with Mike. Where are we going next with WandaVision?
Why do I have to go first? No, but speaking of Rosalinda's comment earlier, like now that we've had a chunky bit of story, I'm down to explore the 80s, the 90s, the 2000s, like sitcom, and I don't think we need to stick to sitcom. We can go to, like, think about it, dude. Like in the 90s, 2000s, like reality TV kicked in hardcore. So maybe they do a riff on reality television. That would be fun.
There is a scene. There is a
Mm-hmm.
scene in one of the upcoming the clips that shows Wanda talking to the camera like one of those shows that have those private moments.
Please
It's like
tell
a
me.
Big Brother thing.
I mean, the Office.
Please tell me it's like the real world.
Yes, it's kind of a real world looking thing. Yes. So,
and if they could get Puck in there, even better.
Puck!
I assumed you mean the one from Real World, not the one from Marvel Comics.
Or Shakespeare.
Oh, they got Puck playing Puck.
Oh, there you go. And yes, the Puck and Shakespeare, and we did have a Shakespeare reference in the 3rd episode.
But no,
what was our Shakespeare reference in the 3rd episode?
When they were talking about names for the children, and Vision wanted to name him Billy for William Shakespeare.
William Shakespeare, yeah.
Oh, that's right, yeah. So, I'm down to dive back into like exploring television history, because
Andrew wants to know if we're going to get a Friends riff.
They were going to do like, again, like 7 episodes of just these riffs, and then the last 2 episodes would be like the solution. I think it was really smart that they did sort of an interruption of and then like, okay, here's a bit of what's going on, so you guys know, and because I like finding a helicopter in full color in a bush doesn't do it for me. It's like, all right, obviously, I mean, we all know something's going on, right? That doesn't give me anything, So episode 4 gave me something to chew on, and now that I got something to chew on, I can eat some more of these Doritos, you know. So, yeah, that's what I think we're headed to going out.
Well,
Yeah.
well, on your thing about a red helicopter in the bush, what got me was the fact that she saw that it was a red helicopter. People in black and white
Mm-hmm.
television didn't know they were in black and white television. It's just how it was filmed. Color was color to them.
Right.
They would have seen a red helicopter and green bushes. She saw that means she saw black and white bushes and expected to see a black and white helicopter.
Right.
Right.
So
Well,
that's the part that got me.
I saw a red helicopter.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what about you, Rosalinda? Where are we going?
Where are we going? Yeah, I wonder if we're going to go back to the strictly sitcom format, or if we're going to get a slices in and out from sitcom through maybe Darcy's point of view, right? Because now we know that they're watching it also. So are we going to do so, or instead of being with Wanda all the time? I think hopefully we go through the 80s and at least the 90s. And then, like Mike was saying, wrap it up in the last couple episodes more in reality. But I don't know. We'll see. I'm trying to pick out a good 80s sitcom, like Cheers. Maybe Cheers might be a fun one, but that would be weird also because all of hers have been sort of family centered sitcoms. So
Family Ties.
The worst would be Friends.
Family Ties will. I think it'll be Family Ties.
No Friends.
No.
Family Ties would be all right.
Yeah, I think we'll see the 80s as Family Ties, and then we'll go into Full House.
All right.
Yeah, and then
we'll
get probably the Wonder Years for the 2000s.
Bring Bill Cosby in.
Bill Cosby.
You really want ratings?
I would say some really controversial stuff, and I am not going to. But
they'll just put Herb in a bunch of sweaters and stuff. So that'll count.
There you go.
With some Jello pudding pops.
Yeah, Herb in a sweater with Jello pudding pop, just walking in the background,
telling you how to raise your kids.
That's right.
Oh, would they dare?
They would. They absolutely would.
If I was a showrunner, we damn sure would. He's in prison, right? We'd have to get him out of prison.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah. I'm just kidding.
Well, I think, at least from where I think this is going to go, and I've got some speculation stuff, but then I do speculation. That's kind of been my gig for the last few years, so bringing it here makes sense. I think we're going to find out that Jimmy Woo's missing witness may be an existing Marvel character, perhaps one that used to be in the movies and got hidden in a small town, so he would disappear, and that he's the one that they're using, that Wanda's using to reanimate the Vision. And I think it's Simon Williams. I think it's Wonder Man. Yeah, because in the comics, when Vision is first created, Wonder Man's brain patterns or whatever is used. So he's basically given Wonder Man's personality. So there's already a connection between the two. And then if you go back to the second episode, when the Vision goes down between the floors and we see that weird looking helmet thing, it looks like the Grim Reaper's helmet. And the Grim Reaper is Wonder Man's brother.
Huh.
So it's a long shot, but it's just, these are the weird pieces I'm seeing, and at this point there is no big picture that we can really get a feel of, but there are pieces. And right now I'm just trying to connect the smaller pieces of this mystery. So figuring out the overall, so I'm just, grabbing little things. And I think the fact that there is a witness and, and there's little things that make me think that Wonder Man's going to pop up. And like I said, the Grim Reaper's helmet is one of them. His natural ties to the Vision anyway. And the Vision is not acting like the Vision.
Oh, okay. Didn't know that.
He's got a little more personality.
Actually, then?
I think it is. And Marvel's been trying to bring Wonder Man in for years. James Gunn kept trying to put him into the Guardians movies, and he kept getting cut. and he was using Nathan Fillion each time. So he put him in. He was going to be in Guardians of the Galaxy 2. He was going to be on the movie posters at the movie theater in the small town that's being attacked by that monster from Ego's Monster. So all the posters were going to be
Living Planet.
Were going to be posters of Nathan Fillion in mock-up movie roles. So it was like it'd be a Simon William Film Festival, but it was all Nathan Fillion posters.
So yeah, just to kind of give you a little background, Rosalinda, Wonder Man he's a superhero, but he's Simon Williams, who is a Hollywood actor.
Yeah.
I love him already.
Yeah.
This sounds fabulous.
Yeah. But like I said, James Gunn tried to make Nathan Fillion.
Yeah, he's like aviator glasses and this.
There's another picture that has to come up.
Yeah, you got to find that. Is Nathan Fillion in Suicide Squad?
Yes, he is.
He's Peacemaker, right? Or no?
No, he's not Peacemaker. He's arm come off kid. He's the one that can take his arms off and beat people up with them. Okay. It is literally that stupid. Off kid. It's something like that, or arm fall off.
He's got a better name than that, I promise. But okay.
No. It's like TK, something like that. It's initials, but that's what it stands for. Okay, I have found the picture that Mike is thinking of specifically. So let me bring this up. This is
There's
Wonder
that
Man.
great Bill Sienkiewicz cover.
Was Wonder Man really fast?
He did have super speed, but not that level. He was
okay.
Yeah. So are you seeing a guy in a red jacket?
Yes.
Isn't that hideous?
Yeah.
That's him.
He needs a cake.
Can you pull up the Bill Sienkiewicz one-shot cover?
Wonder Man?
Yeah, do you remember that?
Let me see if I can find it real quick.
Because that would really do him justice.
Yeah, I think I've got it here. Let's see.
Work. You didn't know I'd be making you do homework when you called me on the show, did you?
Oh, come on. It's part of the fun. That cover?
Yeah, look at that. How much cooler is that?
It's a lot cooler.
That is much cooler, yeah. And he's had other costumes over the years. That was his 80s costume. And
sure. Well, it has to be. You have to have a blazer, a red blazer in the 80s.
Yeah.
And he's got a great logo, too. Look at that logo.
Yeah. Andrew just pointed out that he's playing Nathan Fillion's playing TDK, which I cannot remember what the TDK stands for, but it's something about his
arm. A brand of video cassettes back in the day.
Yes, it did. Yes, it most certainly did.
I'm old.
I thought the same thing when I saw the movie. I'm like, hey. So, okay. One of the things that jumped out at me, and I want to bring it up before we go.
Yeah.
Very end of the episode. You mentioned it earlier. The Vision says, well, we can leave here. And she's like, no, we can't leave. Oh, and this is our home. And which.
We want to leave.
Yeah. But she goes, I've got everything under control. What shall we watch tonight? And she turns and walks off. When Vision turns, the look on his face is total disbelief of, I'm not buying this. Something is wrong. And then he puts on a smile and follows with the other child. And I'm wondering, is that him going, I'm not buying it, but I'm going to play along and the smile? Or I'm not buying it. Oh, I'm back under Wanda's control.
I think the first one.
Well, Dan, obviously you've never been married.
Yes, I have.
Oh, maybe you have.
Yep. Oh, yeah. Actually, yeah.
Okay.
Maybe
I sat between my ex-wife and my ex-girlfriend yesterday for a couple hours. I know exactly.
Yeah.
Brave man. Maybe it is. I mean, just when you said it, and I didn't catch it when I watched it, but just as you said it, maybe it's just, and maybe I'm just reading way too much into this, and sort of a reference to where we all are right now, right? Like everything's fine. Go
Yeah.
about your business. You know,
Right.
like I feel like that's or just do this thing and it'll be okay, kind of a thing. And you kind of do that. Sure, okay,
Yeah.
when you're describing it, it felt like that to me. So it doesn't feel like he was back under her control, especially because she walked away.
Yeah.
It was him going, mm-mm.
Okay. Oh, by the way, Andrew has got us our answer. The TDK stands for the detachable kid. And
Which
that's
would be
because
arm
he could
beating
take
guy?
his arms off and beat people up with his arms.
So you weren't far from wrong, Dan. You actually
By the
weren't
way,
wrong at all, actually.
I should mention that Andrew's a friend of mine who I almost called this evening. He doesn't know this, but I almost texted him this evening when Dan said he was sick to see if Andrew wanted to come in and be our fourth. But I only didn't because I thought it was too late for him. I didn't realize he'd be up through the whole show, or I would have just invited
I
Andrew
like
to
that
join
guy.
him.
He's so knowledgeable. Like I
Yeah.
love it.
Oh yeah. Okay. So Andrew, you may get a call one of these times. I didn't realize he's on the East Coast, so it'd be very late for him.
Oh, it's not that late.
Yeah. Okay. And then I'll show you if there's anything else I wanted to.
Anybody else have any comments or questions or anything?
Yeah. Yeah. By the way, anybody who's watching along and wants to throw in comments, thanks. Yeah, this was Andrew's response to inviting him on the show. Yeah, you may be my emergency backup, Andrew. He said, "Oh, thanks, Dan." I would love anybody who's watching right now, if you've got your theories and stuff, feel free to comment on whichever format you're watching this on. This is on both or all three Facebook, Twitch, and YouTube. So comment in there, and if any really good comments, I'll bring them on to the next show. So, which we still need to figure out if we're staying bi-weekly or what we're doing. It's kind of a work in progress.
I feel like things are getting more interesting on WandaVision, that we could do a show next week because, like week 3, we would have been like, well, like we just needed more to talk about.
Yeah. But we don't seem to have a problem with filling time being.
We don't. We really don't.
Yeah. Our first episode was supposed to be an hour and went 3 hours. So now we're at
42 minutes over.
Trimmed it down.
Yeah. We're trimming it down by quite a bit tonight. Yeah. So, all right, we're going to go ahead and start to wrap up here. Mike, why don't you tell people how they can find your shop? Let them know how they can come and spend money.
Yeah, sure. First off, I want to say great meeting you, Rosalinda. Not in person, but the way we meet people these days. And Dan, thank you for inviting me. I've known Dan for 20 years, 15
Probably,
years.
Yeah.
So it was fun to do this. We all miss these sort of interactions of, it's different than going on a thread, especially because I'm not allowed to be on Facebook right now. But yeah, you can find me at Atomic Basement Comics. I'm on 400 3rd Street down in the East Village Art District of Long Beach, California. I'm going to give you my phone number. So call me anytime. Call me now, whatever. 310-650-4606. We carry all the comics, all the Marvel, all the DC, carry as many indies as I can. Dan hasn't put out a comic since I opened my shop, but it hasn't been that long. But I'm a big proponent and supporter of his stuff. The last one I remember was Freeze.
Yep. And I had a sign at your other shop. So.
I think we had you at Long Beach Comic Con in January last year, right?
Yep. Oh yeah.
At least I asked you. Yeah, no, you were there. So yeah, I'm a big fan of Dan's work. So that's where you can find me. Tomorrow's Monday, so I got tomorrow off, which is cool. Which means So but I'll be back Wednesday through Saturday from noon to 7, and then Sundays from 10 to 3. And that's me.
I will tell you guys that I've known Mike for about 20 years now, and He is pretty close to the modern day Stan Lee in his ability to promote and share his love of comics and to bring people into the industry and just as an ambassador of the industry. He puts on amazing free comic book days, some of which just, I mean, I've been to quite a few now, and they're like mini conventions where they take over the parking lot of the shop. Being in the news store, it'll be interesting to see. We also used to do Development Hell at his shop, which was a bunch of actors led by director Adam Marcus, who directed Secret Santa was a recent movie, but he directed Jason Goes to Hell. He wrote the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3D, and he teaches a bunch of students out here, and we all got together, including Gil Gerard's son, Gib Gerard, since you mentioned Gil Gerard earlier from Buck Rogers. And we do radio program like style dramatic readings of superhero movies that never got made. Like
and they're all on YouTube, by the way. So if people want to listen to them,
I need links to them. I've been in 3 of them, and I've never seen any of them on YouTube. So please,
are all on YouTube, and they have thousands of views. Like, they're great. Yep.
We did an early version of the Watchmen script. We did Kevin Smith's Superman script, the famous one that Tim Burton didn't like, and we also did James Cameron's Spider-Man. So they're a lot of fun. They've also done, just before my time, but they did Justice League, the one the guy who did Mad Max, his version of Justice League.
George Miller's Justice League.
George Miller, yeah. So there's some great stuff out there. Also, check out Secret Santa. I should plug that. That is an amazingly funny, disgusting Christmas horror movie. So I watched the movie with my...
Dan?
I do. Not only do I have the Blu-ray, my quote is on... Yeah, my quote is on the front cover.
Okay. If you haven't watched it yet, watch the making of. It's amazing.
Yeah. I'm waiting for him to do a sequel because I'm supposed to be in the sequel at some point.
They should do a different holiday.
Yeah. Easter.
Yeah. Yeah.
A murderous Easter bunny. I think that'd be the way to go.
Bunny. Yeah.
The Watchmen script was written by Jack Ham. I don't know who was going to direct it. Andrew.
Sam Ham. Sam
Ham. That's right.
Sam Ham wrote the original Batman, Michael Keaton movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then he went on. He did write a Batman 2 that was discarded, which I want to get my hands on. That would be a fun one.
Yeah. I was surprised at how similar Ham's script was to the one that Zack Snyder eventually made. There weren't a lot of differences other than the ending.
The ending was a trip, right?
Yeah. He went more for the comic. Yeah. So
yeah. That could be, we could get that on HBO, man, produced. HBO Max.
Oh. Yeah. So actually I should throw this out there because now that we're thinking about it, I was thinking of a great new TV show we could do, Drunk D&D. Like Drunk History, but people sitting around drunk and stoned playing Dungeons and Dragons, and then have a crew animate the characters as they're supposedly doing what the people are saying. So when they're stumbling through, he gets up and he throws it. No, not a javelin. And the poor animated character going, no. Okay, no, the sword. Okay.
I thought I was on Drunk WandaVision tonight, dude. Like, I've been...
You should have seen the D&D game last night. That's what made it come up. Rosalinda, would you like to let folks know where they can find your work?
You can find my work on Amazon. You just search for me, Rosalinda Diaz, spelled just like Cameron Diaz. There you go. Facebook and Twitter. That is an S and an I. So Rosalinda's I Diaz. Clever, yes?
Mm-hmm. Is that messed up?
What did you say?
The letters are right. They just don't look right, but they are.
They just don't look right, but they are right.
Yeah.
So it's my first name and my last name, and then the letter S and the letter I smushed between them.
Gotcha.
So like Rosalinda's ideas. Rosalinda Diaz.
Ah. I know. When you got to explain it, it doesn't work. But you know what? Smart me Remember, do we remember when Facebook was like, hey, you can get your Facebook URL, right? And then it's just Facebook dot whatever you want. Yeah, so SmartMe got it for my personal profile.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why we have this one. Anyway, so I'm on Amazon, and by the time we do our next episode, my website will be new and beautiful and up and running, so we won't talk about that one just yet.
Okay. All right. And then my website is still a burning pile of flames. So I don't think it's been updated in about, oh God, what administration was in at the time? Nixon. So it's a little old. But you can find most of my stuff on Amazon. Just throw my name into the search and you might be surprised how much shows up. I sure am when I do it. You can follow me on Twitch and, whatever format you're on watching this, that's me. So I'm pretty easy to find. You can find just my name is on all the social media is just me, just my name. Dan Wickline is on everything. So other than that, please look for the Dynamite books. That's the company I've been doing my most work for lately. We've been doing the Vampirella novels, the adaptation of the first The Boys mini comic series. We put out one called Purgatory, Chaos Rising, the origin of the Purgatory character. So been jumping around genres as much as possible. And hopefully I'll have some new stuff to announce soon. And that's about it. Dan Taylor, our missing soldier tonight, is at home in Tennessee nursing his baby. So also look out for Dan L. Taylor. And we will be back maybe next week. I think next week's a good possibility. At least Rosalinda and I will be back, and we'll find someone to sit with us.
We'll talk about stuff.
Yeah. Who needs topics? We'll just wing it. We can obviously fill plenty of time. So, and if you're keen to listen, we'll be here. All right. Thank you all for coming. Thank you, Mike, for joining us, and we would love to have you back. So, and say thank you to your uncle and to Stephanie for allowing us to interrupt their evening.
No, she knew what she was getting into.
I enjoyed the show.
She was watching.
Good. I'm glad.
Listening.
I was watching you guys and listening.
Here, hold on. Let's see Stephanie.
Hi, guys.
Hi, Steph.
Hi, Stephanie.
And I will definitely be getting down to your shop soon. So.
You damn well better, sir, because my camera's falling all over.
What a great show.
Yeah, thanks for having me, bro.
Well, thank you. Rosalinda, it was a pleasure seeing you again, and we'll talk soon.
Okay.
All right.
Bye, Rosalinda.
Good night, everybody.
Pleasure.
Bye. Good to see you guys.
Good show.